This is video 2 of I guess it's a series on Fire Emblem Three Houses. So this one is all about my army and what I did with them and all that. Now I will point out that this game is like Pokemon a lot of ways in that they don't necessarily say what some of the bonuses are for what class you do and level up into. Like I think there was things you would learn the further you went on to the class, and they don't really tell you that, so I didn't look it up. I don't have like a scientist's and statistician's view of how to deal with these characters and make them the best they are and whatever. I just went how I felt and learned stuff along the way. So if you are watching this video being a big Fire Emblem fan and making the best characters you possibly could, this might annoy you. So my Byleth ended up being a mortal savage, mortal savant, someone that was good at swordplay and magic. That seemed to make sense for what the character looked like stat-wise and everything else. So that's what I did. In my playthrough, I also ended up with, or this character also ended up with Dorothea. She was a beautiful theater chick. Are you surprised? I will say one thing about your main character's appearance. When they go through the thing where they like join up with the goddess and all that stuff, the hair color they get is just putrid. Like it's like light barfy green. Like look at that. What is that? Like the whole time I was playing after that part, I would look at it and be like, it just looked terrible. Just awful. All right, next character. I apparently am just gonna screw up while I do this live, so that's fun. There we go. Okay, Dimitri. Great lord. Like his class, his specific class seemed good, so I kept him as that. He like I don't think his resistance ever got super great, but I definitely remember him just destroying fools at a certain point. Just destroying them. And he ended up being really good with the spear. I didn't mess around too much with Dimitri. He just seemed to make sense. Dedue, I'm not sure if there's a mode in which Dedue doesn't come back, but I got to do just made him a warrior in the end. I think I messed around with him a little bit and played him as a knight and a warrior at a certain point. I don't remember exactly what I ended up on. Now that I look at his stats, it's kind of hilarious how much better Dimitri is than Dedue, but I used him as a physical warrior. I did not put him in a position to get hit by magic. He had really high defense and strength, so big, bad axe guy is how I went. Felix, I made him a sword master. That seemed to make sense. It definitely seemed to make sense. He never seemed like someone that was the best magician, and I didn't really mess with that. I just made him a kick-ass sword master. It looks like I gave him an Aegis shield at some point. I'm not sure I remember what that does. Ash, obvious sniper. He was set up as a bow person. I kept him as a bow person. I think I started falling behind with him. I gave him a longbow, and he wasn't my favorite. I guess I'm not a big bow person in this game. Sylvain ended up being a great knight. I think he probably did a few different horse-related things, but he ended up being a great knight. I have him with steel lance, so he must have been my lance guy with the Lance of Ruin and all that stuff. I just forgot about that whole class system. Was there ever like a downside to not having a crest? Or to having a crest? There's people with crests and people without crests, and it never seemed like the people without crests really got any sort of bonus from that. Mercedes. Mercedes was a badass. Like, was she supposed to be just like completely game breaking? Like, she was really good. I have her as a Gremory. She was always a really good mage. She was always a really good healer. I'm looking at her stats right now, and her resistance and magic are super high, but her defense wasn't terrible either. Like, and if she could have a spell that healed herself, like, she was good. She was real good. I remember Mercedes just destroying fools. I also remember Mercedes having a glow up that wasn't great. What is with that hat? Annette, I have her as a warlock. I didn't use her as much. I would eventually pick up some stronger mages from some of the other houses, so she was not my preferred mage. Ingrid, I made a Falcon Knight. I'm not sure I had another Falcon Knight, but I pretty much stuck her along that path. She was excellent at destroying mages. Uh, really fast speed, really high resistance. Like, she was a mage killer, especially with that big old spear. Lindhart. I don't think I used the Lindhart as much as some others. Like, and I can't remember which house he belongs in. I think he's from a different house. I had him as a bishop. He was kind of a backup. Caspar, I did not get Caspar. I mean, I got Caspar. That's why he's here in my game, but he wasn't my jam. I think I eventually stopped trying with him. Like, he kept dying. I think his resistance was just so bad that I never really got over that, and maybe his speed too. Like, something like Camera Woman had Caspar, and he was really good, and I just didn't get him to that spot. Dorothea, um, real strong, real strong mage. Very, very strong mage. I have her as a warlock. I think maybe I didn't try her out with any weapons. I feel like Camera Woman did, but very strong with Thoron and just really good. Could destroy people. Petra, Dorothea and Petra had the best gloves. Petra, I had her as a Wyvern Rider. I think I messed around with her, and I think she was a swords person for a while, and she became a Wyvern Rider. I think I actually made her kind of a bow lady too. Like, I think I had so many issues with her getting hurt and having really low defense that I made her into something else. And I think the Aegis Shield is why Felix kind of stuck around as a decent swords person, because the people that they presented as swords people were kind of glass cannons in a lot of ways. So making them have bow skills made them able to like hit from afar and not be quite on the front line. So that's what I did with her. Lorenz was an interesting one. That hairstyle is ridiculous. Let's put it that way. But I had him as a Dark Knight. Uh, he went away for a while, I think, in my game, and I was able to get him back. I think question mark. Might be mixing up with the other one. I used Lorenz as a character that could deal with both physical and magical damage. So in some ways, I used him as a way to get a lot of enemies closer, and I could trust that he wouldn't die. So that's what I used him for. I think he did make it on my final team, though he was kind of an interesting inclusion there. Raphael, I had as a Fortress Knight. He was a big, beefy dude. I think he was one of the later ones I recruited. Not too much to say about him. Ignatz I didn't use. I had another bow person that I wasn't super thrilled with anyway. Ignatz just wasn't my jam. I think Hammerwoman used him as more of like a bow mage, which worked out pretty well. Lysithia, definitely chose Blue Lions knowing I would just recruit better mages. Lysithia and Dorothea were those mages. Lysithia, I remember being very fragile for the longest time, but god damn, she hits like a truck when it comes to magical ability. Never really got good on the strength, so I have her with a Nosferatu and as a warlock, and that's pretty much all I need to say about that. Marianne, didn't use her, but she was a priest. Hilda used somewhat. I kind of remember her resistance being just so bad that she was a little bit of a liability, but did have her as a warrior. Seteth, I have him. I used him somewhat. I have him as a Wyvern rider, and for someone whose level is this high, I don't remember using him a whole lot. But I guess I must have, maybe in conjunction with a different character. Flame. Yes, I was the on the path that had Flame. Flame was really strong. I had her as a Gremory, but I think as some kind of healer, she was just very, very good. Like I said, I didn't have to pick the house with good mages because they would just come to me. Didn't use Hanneman, didn't use Manuela, though appreciated her as a character. Used Gilbert somewhat as a Fortress Knight. I've never wanted to use like the higher class units that they give to you anyway, or the mentors or whatever. Alois as a warrior, didn't really use him. I used Catherine as a sword master a little bit because she was so damn strong. But eventually I focused more on students, but I would use her occasionally. Shamir, didn't use Shamir. Cyril used a whole lot of Cyril, and for whatever reason, in my game, Cyril ends up with Petra, which is, I don't know, I feel like it's got some weird age issues there, but I had him as a Wyvern Lord. I had him down that path of being the Wyvern person, very strong. Resistance was a little bit bad, but Wyvern Lord kind of can fly in and out and all that stuff. And that was my army. Not not the most crazy use of characters, and I didn't bend them down too many strange paths, but it was interesting to see what Cameron was doing because she was making different choices in what she was using and who she was using and what she was turning them into. So in some ways, like I said in the previous video, the flexibility of the game is a little bit annoying, but it is also interesting. So I don't know how many characters are bad or good. It's just kind of like who you chose and what you managed to do with them. So if you played the game and you had any thoughts on your characters or how you shaped them differently, let me know.